It rocks the scientific community.
They had found for the first time reproducible, confirmable evidence of the existence of a planet around a sun-like star.
Officially called 51 Pegasi b, the planet is nicknamed Bellerophon in honor of the Greek hero who tamed the winged horse Pegasus. It is a planet that breaks all the rules. Bellerophon roasts in the blazing starlight at temperatures of roughly 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. It is nearly 150 times more massive than Earth and is a gas giant like Jupiter.
A gas giant is a planet made mostly of hydrogen and helium. Only the outer layers are gas, but inside, hydrogen and helium is compressed to huge pressures. It doesn't resemble a gas at all.
Unlike anything found in our solar system, this is an entirely new class of planet, what scientists call a hot Jupiter.
If you go to Hawaii and see the lava flow there, that's how hot a hot Jupiter is. It's very hot.
The Earth is a comfortable 93 million miles away from the Sun.
These hot Jupiters are roughly 100 times closer, and so the amount of sunlight that they get is 10,000 times larger.
If this represents a star, and this a hot Jupiter is 3 to 4 stellar diameters away from the star. So that would be 1, 2, 3. This is how close a hot Jupiter would be to its star. Hot Jupiters are tidally locked. They present the same face to the star at all times, just like the moon does to Earth.
It's going to be permanent daylight on one side and permanent nighttime on the back. If I were stuck on a hot Jupiter, I'd want to be on the back side and hope that some of the heat from the front side facing the star would make its way around the back.
The variations in temperature make Bellerophon's atmosphere extremely windy. The wind howls at thousands of miles per hour, far beyond anything we could ever withstand. The heat blast guarantees water vapor cannot exist. But that doesn't mean there is no rain.
It's far too hot for water liquid clouds to form here. But instead, these clouds would be made out of iron.
Iron vapor can exist at temperatures much higher than water. And because of that, things could get a little messy.
You better have an umbrella that's pretty sturdy, because the iron is going to start coating your umbrella very rapidly and making it extremely heavy and just crush that umbrella.
The sky overhead is filled with dancing curtains of color. Charged particles from the nearby star make auroras far more extreme than the northern lights on Earth. There is something even more unique about this newly discovered world. Bellerophon orbits its sun in a blistering 4.2 days.
No self-respecting planet goes around a star in 4.2 days. None of the planets in our solar system take such a short amount of time.
For scientists, the tiny orbit challenges long-held notions of how planets form.
The fact that the planet was orbiting every 4 days was a total puzzle until one night in the middle of the night I woke up and said, well, this must be proof that planets migrate inwards. They don't stay put where they are.
The key to the puzzle is found in how planets are made.
Planets are a byproduct of star formation. When stars form, they have a disk of dust and debris around them, and out of that debris, planets form.
Much of what we know comes from Hubble Space Telescope, as it aims at regions like the Eagle Nebula. This interstellar cloud is studded with collapsing disks of dust and gas. A giant clump grows in the center of each disk. Temperatures reach a searing 18 million degrees. The same nuclear fusion that powers our sun is unleashed. The star is born. Radiation from the star generates a stellar wind that sweeps away leftover dust and debris. Some of the dust survives and remains in orbit around the newborn star. Over millions of years, the dust sticks together, forming knots that grow into asteroids, and the asteroids grow into planets. These planets migrate through the disk until they find a stable orbit. This is why Bellerophon is so close to its parent star. But one newly discovered world has found its stable orbit in a place no planet should ever go. 2001. Hubble Space Telescope is directed to an obscure star some 150 light-years away from Earth, in the constellation of Pegasus. This is the same region where Bellerophon was found 6 years earlier. Hubble is tracking another hot Jupiter, discovered by astronomer Jeff Marcy. But this one is different from Bellerophon.
You've probably heard of the planet HD 209458b. It's a terrible name.
A terrible name for a terrible place. HD 209458b has been dubbed by some as Osiris, after the Egyptian god of the dead. Osiris is over 200 times more massive than Earth. It has migrated perilously close to its sun, at a mere 4 million miles from the blazing solar surface. Osiris broils in a planetary hell. The average daily temperature on Osiris is over 2,000 degrees. Forget global warming. This is global frying, and it causes Osiris to lose an estimated 550,000 tons of air every second.
There's a leak of gas, a steady stream of hydrogen and helium, and that's making a big, huge cloud all around the planet.
Its atmosphere is bleeding into space. Scientists speculate that a colossal trail of gas spirals behind the planet for thousands of miles. Osiris presents an unprecedented opportunity for astronomers. Using Hubble, they analyze the alien planet's bloated atmosphere.
This is the absolutely first time where we could tell what is the composition of the atmosphere of an extrasolar planet.
Surprisingly, Hubble detects many of the basic chemicals needed for life. Sodium, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. But Osiris is far too hot for life as we know it.
There may be other forms of life, however, that thrive on higher temperatures.
But there's no solid surface as we know it on a hot Jupiter. So this life would have to be just tiny little microbes floating around on aerosols. And on our own Earth, we have life that floats around in our atmosphere. But that life didn't start there. So life almost certainly would not exist on hot Jupiters.
Astronomers have discovered many hot Jupiters since Bellerophon was found in 1995. But conditions on these worlds rule them out as places where the drama of life can unfold. One of these gas giants is a planet that teases the rules of evolution. Astronomer Jeff Marcy discovers something shocking about a planet orbiting a star called 16 Cygnus b, located some 70 light-years away in the constellation of Cygnus, the Swan.
The planet was clearly in an elongated orbit, bringing the planet close to and then far from the host star. And this, of course, defied our expectations based on our own solar system, where all of the planets go around our sun in nearly circular orbits like phonograph grooves in a record.
Like a giant yo-yo in space, the gas giant swings back and forth across its solar system. That is like the Earth swooping 25 million miles closer to the Sun, then slinging past Mars, all the way out towards Jupiter every year. And like all of the gas giants in our solar system, this yo-yo planet might have an entourage of moons. Marcy speculates that one of these moons could be similar to Earth.
And here's where the interesting story begins. Imagine a rocky moon with lakes, oceans, maybe streams and waterfalls on the surface. The moon orbiting its planet, the two of them orbiting the host star.
Unlike the airless moon that circles the Earth, this moon is a world with extreme seasons. On Earth, the seasons are caused by the tilt of our planet. Here, they are caused by the elongated orbit.
These poor planets that are in these elongated elliptical orbits suffer terrible changes in their climate throughout a year.
As they make their closest approach, the yo-yo planet and its moon are blowtorched by the star. Summer begins. The atmosphere on the Earth-like moon is savaged with raging storms. Category 5 hurricanes on Earth are tiny eddies compared to the monster vortexes that form here. The clouds thicken as the water evaporates.
Temperatures rise dramatically. Any water or gases would heat up, and indeed the oceans would boil into steam, so you'd end up with a big steam bath.
During the peak of the summer, the entire moon is smothered in 800-degree temperatures. This is the closest approach to the star. During its 26-month orbit, the summer season is barely 2 months long. But what a season! The planet and its moon swing away from the furnace of the star. Temperatures fall to ranges we would find temperate and comfortable. With the coming of fall, the rains return to the parched and roasted moon. Dry ocean basins are replenished, and the seas rise to form new shorelines. Tranquility prevails as the yo-yo planet and its moon slip into the deep freeze of winter. Now, over 200 million miles from the star, the daytime sky is dark. Temperatures hover around 260 degrees below. Winters are long, lasting 17 months. With the coming of spring, the sun looms large in the skies over this hapless moon as the ice cracks and melts violently. Huge icebergs calve into a stormy and fast-rising ocean. For two preciously short periods, during the spring thaw and the autumn rains, the climate on this Earth-like moon is balmy and comfortable. At a distance of 93 million miles from the star, roughly the same distance as Earth from the Sun, the elliptical orbit of this planet and its moon crosses an area around the star some scientists call the Goldilocks zone. The conditions here are just right for life.
If you're too close to the star, then it's too hot. If you're too far away, then it's going to be too cold and everything's going to be icy. But then if you're right in the middle, it's just right.
Every star has a Goldilocks zone. Where that zone is depends on the size and temperature of the star. In our solar system, Venus marks the inner boundary and Mars the outer boundary. Earth and its abundance of life is right in the middle. The Yo-Yo planet passes through the Goldilocks zone twice a year. For 3.5 months during the spring as it races inbound, and again in the fall for 3.5 months as it hurtles back into the colder reaches of space. Could life survive the conditions outside the Goldilocks zone?
There could be life forms that are smart enough to hibernate, as do animals on the Earth during the winter season. If this sounds fantastic, I offer you the tidal zones on the Earth. On the tidal zones, life proliferates, of course, near the seashore, and they do so despite tides. The water coming in, covering many of the life forms, the water going out at low tide, and yet those species survive perfectly well.
The strange cycle of the Yo-Yo planet's orbit creates fleeting conditions suitable for life, but also for death. Some alien planets are even more bizarre. Imagine a world that has no star to orbit. Scientists speculate that our galaxy is teeming with rogue planets, adrift in the murky lanes of interstellar space. These are orphaned worlds, planets that are booted from their solar systems by the chaos of planetary migration. Astronomers call such worlds planemos.
Planemos are planets without a star. They're just drifting through the galaxy indefinitely.
What massive force would it take to kick a planet out of the solar system?
When a young star forms with a contingent of planets around it, many of those planets gravitationally interact with each other. They yank on each other, slingshot each other, so that one of them is ejected from the planetary system, voted off the island, if you will.
If you were, unfortunately, a resident on a planet that was kicked out by a collision or a near collision with another large object, you'd probably rapidly move out of the habitable zone.
There are hundreds of billions of these lost, wayward, poor, wandering planets out in our Milky Way galaxy with no parent star to warm them up.
Cold, dark, quiet. Because planemos have no sun, they are worlds without days or years. They keep vigil through an eternal night. Planemos are solitary wanderers, sentinels of the galaxy. Just because it's out there drifting in space doesn't mean a planemo is dead.
If the planemo is a rocky world, it could well have life on it.
A small rocky planemo without an atmosphere will slumber in extreme cold. Far colder than the coldest winter day on our own South Pole. But a planemo large enough to retain an atmosphere traps the heat generated when the planet was first formed. It is the ultimate greenhouse effect. The heat and energy comes from the molten core deep inside the lonely planet. If the planemo is a gas giant like Jupiter, it may have a system of moons. The gravitational pull between the planemo and its moons creates friction, causing the interior of the moons to stay warm.
These moons could also have life on them, in the same way that Jupiter's moon Io has volcanoes and has a lot of heat energy being generated by interactions with Jupiter and the other moons.
If anything lives here, it will be single cells, like common bacteria found on Earth. Not complex life forms. Without a sun to provide photosynthesis, these tiny organisms derive their energy from the chemistry in the soil of the planemo, or its moon. On Earth, there are similar conditions. Colonies of bacteria are found deep within mine shafts in South Africa. They have no access to oxygen nor light, and survive entirely on the chemicals they make from the surrounding dirt. Their metabolisms are extremely slow, and they reproduce only once every 1,000 years. If life dwells on a sunless planemo, it could be organisms like them, marooned when their planet was young. While planemos slumber undisturbed, there are worse places to be in the universe. Like in the company of this lethal pulsar, some 980 light years from Earth, in the constellation of Virgo. From afar, a pulsar looks like a blinking light, but up close, pulsars machine gun their surroundings with deadly radiation. They are no place for planets. Yet something interferes with the precision of this pulsar. One explanation is that the anomaly is caused by a planet. But many astronomers are skeptical that planets orbiting a pulsar can exist.
The reason that's a problem is because pulsars are formed in these incredible explosions.
When a red giant star explodes, a titanic fireball known as a supernova unleashes as much energy in 1 minute as our sun generates in its lifetime.
When a star goes supernova, the shockwave is so immense it's hard to imagine any planet surviving that.
When the cosmic dust clears, all that remains is the crushed core of the red giant, pulsing in the heart of an expanding debris field. Matter blasted from the colossal explosion falls back to the pulsar and forms a disk. Within this chaos, a new world arises, born of fire and destruction. A planetary zombie raised from the carcass of the former red giant star.
It's amazing that planets could form in that environment.
A planet orbiting a pulsar will give you the feeling of being in a disco bar with a very strong strobe light, which is the pulsar.
Radiation from this stellar beast breaks down the organic molecules needed for life.
The pulsar has these very strong magnetic fields that are being spun around as the star is rotating quickly, and it's picking up any material, electrons, protons, and speeding them up and slinging them out at high speed. So it's like a solar wind with a vengeance.
I can't imagine that there would be much of an opportunity for even simple life, microbial life, to emerge and to flourish on a planet around a pulsar. Largely because if you were in the pulse, you'd be severely energized, and if you were not in the pulse, you would be completely devoid of energy.
The discovery of pulsar planets shows how new worlds can form in the wake of a star's destruction. No matter where a planet arises, the process of its birth is fraught with danger. Sometimes, the violence is so great, the end of the world comes before the beginning. 2007. Astronomers using the giant Gemini North telescope make a strange discovery in the Pleiades cluster some 400 light-years from Earth. A star known only by its catalog number, HD 23514, is surrounded by a giant donut-shaped cloud of dust and gas. The star in the middle of the donut shape is about 100 million years old. A cosmic toddler in astronomical terms. Our sun is 45 times older. The conditions are perfect for planets to form. But spectral analysis finds something strange. The dust is utterly pulverized. Typically, a newborn star is surrounded by fledgling planets.
Planets form around the young star in a protoplanetary disk of gas and dust. And then these planets go on their merry way orbiting the star, not realizing that they're in an orbit that's too close to another planet.
Millions of years ago, two primordial planets orbiting HD 23514 are spinning toward doom. As the two worlds close in, tidal forces torque each planet from spheres to egg shapes. Nothing remains. The two worlds are annihilated, creating the dust and debris seen around star HD 23514. 4 billion years ago, a similar apocalypse came to Earth. A Mars-sized planet forms in roughly the same orbit as the newborn Earth. Like the planets at HD 23514, Earth and this Mars-sized body are barreling toward each other.
If you happen to be unlucky enough to be standing on a growing planet when it was in the process of still becoming the Earth, you might wake up one morning and notice that the sky was getting darker and darker as a Mars-sized body was coming at you within a period of less than an hour.
And when it hits, the shock wave is felt all over the planet, scouring the surface of the Earth. The collision obliterates one side of the planet. Molten rock sprays out into space. The entire globe is peppered by meteors and noxious vapor.
It would actually make hell look like a Bahamas vacation.
The debris field from the collision coalesces and forms our moon. It is a new beginning for our planet.
Collisions are part of the birth process for planetary systems. Building up a terrestrial planet is probably all about colliding pieces of rock together.
And all across the galaxy, colliding pieces of rock are forming terrestrial worlds that defy the imagination.
There is a new planet out there, a planet we were not aware of existing before.
It is not just one planet. It is a new type of planet. Earth on steroids.
I like to call them super Earths. They're just like the Earth, except bigger, up to about 10 times the mass of the Earth. One family that the super Earths resemble just like our own Earth, continents, oceans. Some of them may be very dry, like Mars. And then another family that we call water worlds or ocean planets that are completely covered with water.
Welcome to Gliese 581c.
This planet was found by Michel Mayor, and it orbits with 2 other planets around a very small star.
It's only 20 light-years away in the constellation of Libra and is one of the smallest terrestrial planets found beyond our solar system. That doesn't mean Gliese 581c is small. It's still a super-Earth with 5 times the mass of our home planet. But it's the possibility of liquid water that excites scientists.
An ocean planet feels like being in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, with no land in sight, just water, puffy white clouds and blue sky above you. The winds on the ocean world are going to be similar to that of the Earth, so it will be a very good place to sail.
The weather's absolutely perfect. Every day you get a clear blue sky and the sun just stays in the same place. Now how's that for weather prediction?
No land anywhere. Even miles beneath the surface.
This water layer would extend very far down, at least a quarter of the way down in the planet.
But as we dive deeper into the sea, the pressure builds. At 35,000 feet below the surface, we pass the point where the deepest oceans on Earth bottom out. We pass the 100,000-foot mark. The pressure is so great, water itself begins to take on surprising new forms. At a depth of 10 times the greatest ocean depth on Earth, we reach the bottom.
When you have a large amount of water, then at the bottom of an ocean, you will form very high pressure in excess of 1 million atmospheres. And that pressure will compress the liquid water, that is the ocean, into a state which we call ice 7.
No, it's not like ice in your refrigerator. The molecules of water that are in the ice in your refrigerator are kind of all jumbled up. But if you form ice under very high pressure, then the water molecules can become ordered, they can become aligned.
I can show you a crystal that is a very good analog to ice 7. This is halite, also known commonly as rock salt.
Ice 7 may exist within our own solar system. Europa, a moon of Jupiter, could possibly have a mantle of liquid water surrounded by a thick, icy crust. The pressure from the crust is so great that Ice 7 might exist deep within these uncharted seas. If we scale up and thaw out Europa, it could be a water world similar to Gliese 581c.
One could imagine that life could emerge on a water world. After all, water is essential to life on Earth.
Everywhere on Earth where there is water, there is life. You cannot find a sterile drop of water on Earth unless you put it in the microwave yourself.
On this water world, there could be bacteria or any kind of life in the ocean itself.
But not all of the super-Earths are water worlds teeming with life.
When we talk about super-Earths, we talked about two major families of mostly rocky with some water and mostly water with an endless ocean. But one has to add to those a third family of probably very rare super-Earths and Earth-like planets, which are called carbon planets.
A carbon planet is unlike anything we've ever seen anywhere. A place with an alien chemistry, but loaded with very earthly treasures. Throughout our galaxy, there are planets barren and poor and inhospitable. But science is on the trail of a new type of planet, an entire world of treasure.
In our own solar system, in our sun and in all the stars nearby, there's always more oxygen than carbon. But if we think of a place in the universe where there's more carbon than oxygen, then planet formation is very different.
Spectral analysis shows carbon to be far more plentiful, 26,000 light-years away near the center of our galaxy. Planets that form here may contain a rich abundance of carbon. The morning sky on a carbon world would be anything but crystal clear and blue.
I'm picturing a yellow haze with black clouds of soot. And as you descended farther down in the atmosphere, I could imagine lakes that were made out of compounds like methane or gasoline. I'm picturing these bubbling, foul-smelling pits of black ooze, like an oil well.
With little or no water in the atmosphere, the air is made of carbon compounds.
Methane, butane, pentane, benzene, all these different kinds of carbon compounds that separate out when you refine gasoline. One day it might be raining benzene. The next day it might be raining butane.
Alien as carbon planets might seem, the air quality could be familiar to some.
The air in a very benzene-rich planet will resemble that of LA. A lot of smog particles that unfortunately we are quite used to from the exhaust of cars.
Despite the pollution, carbon planets could come with a sparkling upside.
You might see diamond because the planet may have substantial quantities of pure carbon that it's formed out of. And pure carbon, when you compress it, tends to form into diamond.
The secrets of exotic planets like these are waiting to be discovered all across the galaxy. But astronomers won't be satisfied until they find the Holy Grail. A planet like our own, one that sustains life, the next Earth.
People always ask me, do I think we're going to find another planet like Earth? And I answer, absolutely.
Every star probably has planets roughly the same size as our Earth.
We think that essentially every star has several Earth mass or super Earth mass planets. So if you have, say, 200 billion...
We're looking for people to share their abduction story, insight on possible theories. The Malaysian flight 370, it's been over a month and a half now. It's still missing. Not a trace, no sign of Malaysian airline. What's going on? Let's go to area code 562. Welcome to Third Phase. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, I'm Mike Pollock.
I invited you on the show, Mike, because I wanted to ask you about your experience in aviation and you were telling me a theory why it would be impossible in this day and age with the technology and the information we know why the Malaysian 370 flight is still missing right now. Is it possible that technology can't track this? What's going on, Mike?
Well, yeah, it is very peculiar because with the technology that we have in the aviation industry now, I was in aerospace in the aviation world for 45 years, recently retired. And I worked commercial a lot of those years, commercial jetliners. And I had started with Douglas in '65, so you could kind of say I grew up with the new commercial aviation as we manufactured it now. And the aircraft today are so technically advanced. For instance, the transponder that they're discussing that should have been on the whole time, right after the pilot said good night, and gave the sign off with the aircraft number, that transponder went dead. The only way that transponder can go off is if somebody turns it off. The transponder cannot just turn itself off. That was one very peculiarity. The other issue was that when the aircrafts crash now, believe it or not, they actually have a signal that shows that the aircraft has gone down. They may not know if it went in the ocean. They may not know if it crashed onto land, but they know it went down. That signal did not show up. And then they have the issue of the black box that was, gives a signal when an airplane goes down, a pinging signal for 30 days. That was in the press a lot regarding that 30-day battery, which is about right. Sometimes it can go longer, not very much longer, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 days more. And the pinging was located with enough accuracy to where they actually said, okay, here's where the plane went down. With all of those submarine units they're put down there, they've covered 90% of the floor. There's no sight of the airplane. And they've been focusing exactly where that pinging sound came from. Exactly. So there's a lot of peculiarities here that are popping up. They show that the pilot used a cell phone right after the transponder went out. And you literally would have to have somebody turn off the engine, shut down the entire aircraft hydraulics systems. It is a lot of peculiarity as to all this could happen at once. I liken it to, the stories we've heard over the years on the Bermuda Triangle. There's a lot of these same kind of issues where the planes have never been found, and they lost them in that triangle there, and they've, only to my knowledge, have found one of them. So that's my thoughts, is that it's all very strange, very weird, and yet, I sit here and I know my technology, and I say there's just too many things that say you should find that plane, but they're not working for whatever reason. So, yeah, there's a lot of issues out there, what ifs, a lot of theories, a lot of conspiracy theories. So hopefully they will find that plane and for everybody's comfort zone, and we will find out what happened. So.
Well, Mike, with over 40 years of experience, I want to ask you, when they shut off the transponder, why would they allow even a pilot to shut it off? Why not put that switch somewhere outside of the aircraft so it's unreachable by anybody within the aircraft? It really doesn't make sense that there's power to shut off a transponder while you're flying a commercial airliner.
Well, the reason that they want to keep that into a manual control with the pilots or anybody, co-pilots, the crew flying that airplane, because if there was an emergency, okay, if the plane was going down, if the engines went out, if your hydraulic system went down, you lost everything, that would mean that your system would maybe not automatically turn that transponder on or off. So the idea of the pilot controlling it gives a little bit of a safeguard, kind of a fail-safe thing that says that the pilot can have some control here in case of a critical, drastic emergency. You know, they want to have. Well, we got all the electronics, we've got all of the everything by computers and controls. There are some things that they want the pilots to maintain control over in case of an emergency like this. But when that transponder shut down, it was like, well, it shouldn't have shut down. The only guy that can shut it down is the pilot or co-pilot, okay? Nobody can shut that down. So why did it shut down? You know, there was the hijacking theories, but that kind of went away because they said if a hijacker was taking it somewhere, he would take it somewhere where he could land it when it landed. So that's part of the strangeness too, is that a hijacker would say, okay, shut that transponder off. I don't want them to know where we're at. Okay, I'm going to take you to so-and-so, and I don't want them to know where I'm taking you. All right? So that's why it doesn't automatically, that's why they want to keep that control in the crew's hands. So
some people are saying things really, Bradford Blair is saying things really didn't start to disappear until after the Philadelphia experiment. Mike, are you familiar with the Philadelphia experiment?
Yeah, I am. I'm very familiar with that. And that was an interesting, you know, they did a movie on that. And, you know, that was a very interesting experiment. And, you know, some of that, in fact, most of that is still it's not public information. You know, that I'm going back to the word stealth. That was probably one of our first entries into experimenting with stealth technology. All right? And can we make that ship, that destroyer, disappear so that they do not see it on radar? It's an unknown thing, but they tried that actually with submarines for a while. Can we make that submarine disappear so that it doesn't show up, that they can't see us coming into port, you know? So, yeah, that technology, the stealth technology, you know, in recent years on the various bombers and various fighter planes, including our newest F-22, is a stealth technology. But that goes back to the 40s, in fact, late 30s. So, in fact, another note on that, the Germans were working on that in the 30s as well, the German scientists. So, yeah, it's been something that's been out there, and I know a lot of people say, wow, it just disappeared. How can that happen? But the 777, while it's a great airplane, a fantastic airplane, in fact, does not have a stealth technology to it to make it disappear off of radar. So,
well, right here in the flash chat, Mike, even Skylar Anitizo was saying that, and I recall this as well in the news, that there was some kind of UFO spotted somewhere at the same time the flight disappeared. Not necessarily saying UFOs from another planet, but UFOs in general. It was stated in the media. Did you hear anything about that? Also, everybody stand by. We're going to get into callers. I just want to get Mike's opinion on this.
You know what? I read about it. I saw it online, and I thought it's interesting because I don't want to call it coincidental, but it is coincidental sometimes. When these things happen, there are additional UFO sightings, you know. And so, you know, you have to say to yourself, well, maybe there is something to it, you know. I'll be honest with you, I am not a UFO follower, okay? Although I have some of my retired engineer friends that are, you know. So it's an interesting concept, but it is interesting that it's coincidental that at the same time this happened, UFOs were spotted. Some of those in those areas in the Indian Ocean area. So I don't know what more to comment or say about that one.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate you joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon. Even Inside Edition did a special on the missing flight, and they mentioned Third Phase in regards to theories that people have shared with us right here at Third Phase and their opinions of what happened to the missing flight. And there's right here somebody's saying, Kevin Baird is saying that there was actually a UFO a mile in size that was spotted in the area. Now, that doesn't sound like one of ours, but Mike, I appreciate your insight. I know you've worked in aerospace for over 40 years. Is there anything that you could share with us? I know you have a top secret clearance. Is there anything that you could share publicly that maybe nobody's ever heard of before in regards to, maybe DARPA? DARPA's out there. We did a special on DARPA, these conceptual aeroplane designs, and they're conceptual. I really think they exist now. Do they exist? Are they flying these things as of now and not really letting us know about them?
Well, you know what? The only thing I could say about that is that, there are developmental, experimental programs going on out there that are under a veil of, confidentiality and secrecy that can't be talked about. And I think when the time is right, they'll come out and discuss some of this. But right now, it isn't something that I could get into, okay?
Appreciate it.
Probably isn't anybody who's acting in that field of engineering could probably get into and talk about, really discuss it, But there are developmental programs in those areas that are going on.
Hey, Mike, appreciate you joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon with your special insight on aviation. Stand by, Mike. Maybe some of the callers might want to ask you some questions. And let's go to the phone lines. The switchboard's filling up. Area code 618, you're live, Third Phase. Go ahead.
Hi, yes, this is Kevin Baird calling. Great show. Love your content, YouTube, everything. I wanted to share with you that back in the day when I was in the military, I was working with an organization to where we were working with like remote viewing and also like remote viewing soldiers, where it's like soldiers on the battlefield kind of thing. But what I want to share is that my superiors, when I was in the military, they also knew that there was information that was being fed to us, and I don't mean to be like too wacky or whatever, but that there was like alien technology that was being fed to engineers through their creativity or whatever, and that the development of I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Men Who Stare at Ghosts, to where they're like trying to, develop psychic ability or whatever, that there's like
the George Clooney movie, absolutely. Is this reality? Were you guys able to actually
remote view and also remote realize, where like we would be plagued with problems, or we would have engineers who would be facing issues that somehow they would happen upon the information? So the movie about the Men Who Stare at Ghosts was about, psychic warriors or whatever, but really it was more about being connected to some kind of like network that was a solution kind of network that was being fed in a sort of like a mental kind of sense and not a physical kind of thing, where it's a training. And my superiors were like, this is the cutting edge. This is where we're going to. So I just wanted to say that the technologies that we're coming into, the things where the flight disappeared or whatever, is all related. They're all coming together, and I don't want to take up a lot of your time because I know you have a lot of people out there waiting, but we are being fed information to solve the problems as they happen upon us without their specific physical interactions or interventions or whatever, so it makes it look like we're the ones that came up with the solutions. And I think that Flight 370 disappeared because it was a problem with either technology or too much advancement or something, and that they needed to slow something down or whatever. So that's my opinion. I don't want to stay on the line too long because I know you have other callers. So any questions before I drop off?
Absolutely. Is the remote viewing program still going on in present day? And what's their major objective? Are they trying to remote view into major world leaders around, in other countries? What's the purpose of this?
It's not world leaders. They don't care. It's more about realizing technology, but having it be introduced into our society in a palatable method, not one to where the grays come in and say, okay, here's a special microwave oven or a special kind of automobile or whatever. We gradually happen into it through them feeding sort of like the intuitive engineers who sort of like look at a problem and just all of a sudden come up with the idea for the solution. It's almost like a psychic net or something, and that everybody else that's out there is just sort of like minutia, if you will, and that we're all here to serve a purpose. Some, might be valued as higher and lower or whatever, but we're evolving, and that the aliens are here to help us. They probably will never come out because they want us to be more significant through our own means than them coming in and saying, okay, here's all the fix, and that you can rely on us and that you can use us as a crutch. They want us to grow and be more significant, in my opinion, from what my superiors talked about and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I get.
Makes sense, Kevin. Appreciate you sharing this. Maybe we could go into it a little bit further, but we do have to get to some other callers. So stand by, Kevin.
Absolutely.
Area code 469. You're live, third phase of the moon. I think you dropped out. You're back. Go ahead. Tell us your name. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Sammy calling from Dallas, Texas. I called in last week.
Hey, welcome to back.
Yeah.
Back, Sammy.
Yeah. I've just been in the chat room talking to everybody. Hi, everybody that's joined in. I just really, like I had discussed last week, I had kind of wanted to bring kind of like a health angle to this whole thing, and kind of talk about what I know personally. I think that's just so important that everybody listening in on the show is, aware that there's an attack on your body, not only with, the food and the water, but also like all these computers and cell phones that we're using. That's also totally part of, controlling people and stuff like that. I mean, there's little kids who are looking at iPhones and stuff and holding them up to their heads and sleeping with them. And, how it relates to the whole UFO thing to me is that I think that your third eye actually has to be open for you to be able to really perceive this information. And I think that everybody who's here actually has their third eye open, just to be able to kind of assimilate this information, you have to be very open-minded and willing to hear other people's opinions, which is just so important. If you ever have any questions, go ahead and ask me, because I'm just really familiar with like a lot of organic chemistry. I've worked in the pool industry, and I'm very health conscious. But I've also, like I stated last time, had direct extraterrestrial experiences, and I can actually share another experience that I had after my first experience, if you remember me talking about last time, if you would like me to, or if you want to go to another caller.
Sure, we got some time. There's some callers lined up, but we'll hear you start.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you first, do you own a cell phone, Sammy?
Oh, absolutely. I have an iPhone 5S. I'm not saying that I'm not plugged into technology as well. I'm just extremely aware of what cellular phones do to your brain, what they're doing to society, what they do to plants and trees and birds and animals, and it's just horrible. It's going to be the next biggest news story of the century when we find out that half the population has brain tumors from using all these cell phones. It's literally, would you stick your head in a microwave? No.
Absolutely not.
That's what you're doing when you talk on your cell phone.
I actually
sticking your head in a microwave.
Yeah, I don't even own a cell phone, believe it or not. But also, what's really sad is that social activity, just being around people and interacting with each other, has gone out the window. You see family members get together, friends, and they're not even talking to each other anymore. Husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, they're just constantly texting. And it's a sad
or
state.
Looking at Facebook. And what's so very creepy is that nowadays, like the iPhone 4S there was actually a court decision in the Supreme Court today where they were talking about how police have been given special software by Apple to completely go through your phone after they pull you over. They're actually going to start taking your phone now and be able to legally go through every one of your internet documents and everything. And they have Apple working with the police and also Android and Google to be able to check out your cell phone. That was just passed in the Supreme Court this morning.
That sounds lovely. And then they also have the GPS tracking, so they know exactly where you are.
Well, see, what's crazy though is like right now what's happening is the you know how like the phone, actually the iPhone, when you set it down on like a flat table, you know, you wouldn't think that it could see 360 degrees around you. But if you ever watched like the Batman movies, the Dark Knight movie with Heath Ledger and stuff, they showed how they were using cell phone signals to map the environment like radar. And, you know, like it's funny, and even in the new Batman movie, one of his toys was he had this little device, you know, when he gets out of his Lamborghini and he presses a button and all the cameras go out. So they kind of showed in that movie the technology that the elites or the ruling class, like the billionaires, have technology that can just shut off all the electronics in a 45-foot radius around them, so paparazzi can't take pictures of them, or, you know, people pull stuff off their cell phones. But, I mean, just really what I was trying to get to was now they have 4G internet on your phone, which is about 3 megabytes down and 1 megabyte upload. And they're basically transmitting full audio and video 24/7 from everybody's phones and stuff. So just, you know, be careful what you're recording. And if you are, just remember, you know, it can be deleted and you are being watched, because, I mean, I think that they are scared that people are aware of the UFO phenomenon. And, you know, it definitely has the ability to bring down the current power structure, because we'll be looking at free energy, you know, stuff that's just ridiculous technology. And I think that I've met people who are very into Tesla and Tesla technology, and, you know, that's what some of these UFOs could be. They could be Nazi Hanabu 1s and Hanabu 2 Tesla upgraded, you know, futuristic Tesla stuff. So I'm always going to keep an open mind. I really appreciate you taking my call, Blake, and I'll be listening.
All right, Sammy. Hey, no problem. What I found interesting on The Dark Knight was that's when Morgan Freeman told Batman that he's going to work for him just this once, because Batman wanted to go after the bad guy and hook up into the system and look at everybody's information. And Morgan Freeman didn't want to have anything to do with that technology. It was just a little too much and overbearing, and a little bit too much of a power as one individual or a corporation could have. And it gets kind of scary when the Supreme Court's going along with this kind of stuff. I think we have Elizabeth, she captures all kinds of orbs and flying saucers and capturing it on video. What's going on, Elizabeth, in your part of the area in the country? Anything new going on?
Sure. Did you get the picture I just sent you with the little creature in the front of the candle?
Let's take a look. Okay, we're live. We're going to go over our emails. I just see an email. I'm not going to say her last name. Let's take a look at it.
Please don't. Okay, hey. I don't know what this is, but I've had a lot of people blow it up, and I know it looks like, I don't know what it looks like.
So what we're looking at is this orb that the previous caller was calling in, but it's very bright. And then near the bottom, is this what we're looking at? Some kind of
it's like a creature.
It looks like, some kind of cryptoid. It has green eyes, green pellish eyes. I'd almost call it like almost a golem of some sort.
I don't know what it is. It looks like a hybrid gray. I've had people blow it up, like turn it white and change the colors of it. There's other things around the sides of it, too, like other creatures.
Well, what was the circumstance? Did you just take this picture?
I had a candle going outside, and I could watch. All of a sudden, the candle started changing really weird colors, and, I'm outside taking pictures of, what's outside, and I just started clicking away, and I just came across the picture last night because I dropped my camera and I broke my camera. And so I was going through the pictures, and I'm like, what the heck is that little thing? And it's a little thing, and he looks like he has his hands out towards me, doesn't it?
It's definitely strange. May I share it with the chat room right now?
Sure.
Live?
Sure.
And then we'll share it on Third Phase, and we'll take a look at this little clip.
And I mean,
blow it
you
up.
know, I don't fake pictures. I don't do anything. You know that, Blake. I don't even know how.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work, Elizabeth. I think I just shared it. Keep it up, and keep safe over there, because that looks whatever it is. It seems very close. And
it was very close. I don't know if I've ever been abducted or not. I've been seeing them since I've been a child, so I keep salt at my door, and I keep my door shut, and that's all I can say is I hope everyone keeps safe. They're not all friendly.
Well, we definitely hear that.
You have a good night, dear.
Hey, thanks a lot, Elizabeth. Thanks for sharing.
You bet.
All right, well, we got a few minutes left. Let's go to a roundtable, and let's just open up the lines. And if anybody wants to chime in on, anything in regards to the UFOs, cell phones, Flight Malaysia, anybody, the lines are open. It's live Third Phase Moon Roundtable.
Yeah, Blake, I had a question about that gentleman, Ed.
Certainly.
Yeah, his videos are really fascinating, and his stories, incredible. I was just wondering if you got the chance to ask him as far as what kind of ETs, like what type of ETs he was dealing with.
Well, he says that he was taken on board and he was escorted by a person he calls Voss, and we're trying to get character of him, and there's this one famous video that Ed just shared, and it was like the biggest thing on Third Phase Moon and the internet. Every news in regards to UFOs just picked up on the story because there's an incredible video of the flying saucer behind the trees, and then when you zoom in on it, you see some kind of what appears to be kind of a spindly alien walking within the ship, and what Ed was saying is that's Voss, and we're trying to get Ed to come back. He's when we get him on the show, he really doesn't take it like how I would. If I were in his shoes, I would explain it detail by detail. But this guy, it's been happening for years, and he kind of takes it nonchalantly. And we're trying to pin him. Give me that information, Ed.
He's kind of vague with the details.
He certainly is, but it doesn't seem like he's doing it purposely. I'm just trying to get my finger on it. What's the deal, Ed? He's a family man.
Could be after such a long period of time of dealing with it. I guess maybe it is, not such a big deal to him. But the fact that he's able to take these pictures and videos pretty much like no one else has, as far as abductees or contactees. I mean, usually the ETs prevent people from getting real good quality pictures or video. And he's got amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think we even touched the tip of the iceberg of what he's shared with us. It sounds like he has a lot more in his archives.
Is that being talked or something? I want to know if he ever talked with him.
The problem is what he tells us is that the equipment keeps getting technologies outdating it. He has his super VHSs, he has a Super 8s and mini DVs, and going through that archive, I could imagine it's quite difficult to bring that back. You just don't want to send. I wouldn't send it just to anybody on the internet and say, here, transfer this video, something, and make sure you get it back to me sitting on that kind of stuff. So.
This is true. I would really stick with him because, this could be real groundbreaking as far as disclosure. If his videos keep getting better and better, you guys could be the ones to really, break it wide open.
Oh, yeah, we're looking at it as we blow it up. We're looking at these videos, and we don't see any manipulation of any sort. And we're totally convinced that whatever he's filming is actually something in front of that camera, and it could be a massive hoax that he's pulling on. But people are saying if this is a hoax, then he should be working for Industrial Light and Magic and working for J.J. Abrams right now doing the new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, if it's a hoax, it's a big one, and it's being done for a reason.
But then when we talk to him, he does seem genuine. We're offering him that we're trying to get VHSs, and so we could transfer this. And that's the trick.
Doctor, I told you about Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Jonathan Reed, absolutely. We just spoke with Ben Hansen. He was on the Sci-Fi Channel, Fact or Fake, and Ben Hansen spoke with Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I thought he gave him quite a little bit of hard time by the end of it. But he claims that Jonathan Reed was making this thing up at the end of the interview. What's your thoughts on Jonathan Reed? When I saw his videos and his evidence, I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, I believe for people who are looking for evidence, I think if you look at the evidence that Dr. Jonathan Reed has, I mean, that's been out there for a while, but, every time that he's tried to put it out, he had been mocked before on some other show that he tried to bring his information out. And if you look at the alien that he did, he showed on the videos that he does have on YouTube, if you look at it, one of the main factors of that is like any kind of living being or living animal, when you videotape it, if you look at the eyes of it, it has a reflection back to it, and then that's how you know this thing is real. Now, if the evidence is there, I mean, I believe Jonathan Reed. But what the thing about him is not wanting to come out anymore is because of the fact that, or talk about it, and like he likes to go down to Mexico. The other guy down there that always brings out some good information on UFOs for many years is that he's
Jaime Maussan.
Tired. I'm sorry?
I think you're speaking of Jaime Maussan?
Yes. Yeah, Jaime. Now, I mean, he took his information down there, and I mean, they made some videos and stuff about it. Like, it's almost kind of hard to believe, like with the artifact, he does have that bracelet that he puts on. But I mean, how can we say it is not? I mean, he put it on before. I mean, that type of technology we've never come across, and so in my eyes, is like I believe Dr. Jonathan Reed. I mean, the stuff that he's come out with, the video, the recordings that he had, the interaction with the alien. I mean, that, to me, with the alien, like I said, with the eyes, where you can see the reflection back when, just like at nighttime when you see an animal where it has a reflection back from the pupils, that's how you know that this thing is real. And to be mocked like that all the time, and I think that's a problem with this guy. I think, what's the name, Ed, with the stuff that he's coming out now that you were talking about, with his UFOs videos that he had. Those are actually very compelling as well. I mean, I look at that stuff, and that's the one I kind of put on your YouTube. It's like, if you look at where it's turning, if you look at the door, I mean, it looks like the inside of the ship, and that's some pretty amazing video that he does have.
Well, absolutely. You, like I said, we look at it close. You can see the chambers from within, and if it's a 3D model, then again, it's state of the art. When I look, I could even the state of the art movies right now. You look at them, you could still see the CGI within the video. You don't see it here, and like I said, I think whatever he's filming, he's actually there. I'm going to invite a person who's just joined us here. They're going by the name of Live on Third Page. Welcome to the show. Anything you want to add in on some of Ed's footage or Jonathan Reed's videos? I'm more fascinated with Ed's videos because we have direct contact with Ed. Unfortunately, we've been trying to get in touch with Mr. Jonathan Reed, and if anybody out there has any connections, we'd like to have him on the show and have him share his story, and if he has any more evidence. Live, are you there? I guess Live is kicking back, eating some potato chips. So that's pretty good thing. Hopefully he has some guacamole with it. But, yeah, we're looking to get Ed back and get some more information. He is a conservative family man, and he does want to remain anonymous. We've asked him multiple times to, hey, let's do a Skype interview. Let's get you coming out so we could get on location on some of these things. And he's pretty much adamant that that's not going to go down, but we definitely we're wanting to pin him on a little bit more background with his association with Voss, what's it like to be on the ship, and more footage and more analyzation from you, the public. But I also wanted to bring up the Truth Seeker. I wish he, number one, joined us tonight because I wanted to go over video that it's not a video, it's actually a photograph from Curiosity Mars. And it's a 1 billion pixel. We're going to share the link on Third Phase when we show this photo that we're looking at right now below to let everybody know this is an actual NASA photo. But one thing I like about the Truth Seeker, number one, is like this is a major panoramic vision, and it's a major file. So meticulously he looks over this, and he finds this, what appears to be an alien with a ray gun. We enhanced it. We did our own thing to enhance and